And surprise, surprise, it's an isekai. Not just any isekai though, it's an ecchi harem isekai with an overpowered protagonist.
Daring today, aren't we?
Except, well, if it was just that, then it wouldn't be worth talking about, let alone making a whole video about it, but I mean, we'll get to that later. The manga I'm talking about is an isekai that probably would have been better off if it just stayed generic and cookie cutter. Instead, it commits the worst sin a work of fiction can commit in my eyes. It doesn't stay in its lane. What manga am I talking about? It's Parallel Paradise. Parallel Paradise is a seinen manga series written and illustrated by Lin Okamoto. Yep, that Lin Okamoto. The guy who made Elfen Lied. Should already tell you where this is going. In a nutshell, this manga is violent, vulgar, nonsensical, exhausting, offensive, and all sorts of other things, but it's also kind of good. So when I say it's the worst manga I've ever read, it's more of a frustration thing. And again, I'll explain what I mean. First, I gotta do my obligatory thing where I break down the plot for y'all in a very cynical and sarcastic manner. So yeah, like and subscribe, I guess. Let's get into it. Spoilers, of course. Parallel Paradise follows Yuta Tada. He's a Japanese high school student who is skilled at kendo and also has feelings for his childhood friend Nishina. However, all this changes in the blink of an eye when he's suddenly thrown out of a window by this thing that looks like a meal from Nier. Seemingly dead from the fall, Yuta wakes up in, wait for it, you'll never guess where, another world. Like a fantasy world. You didn't see that one coming, did you? It doesn't take long before Yuta runs into our obligatory big titty waifu Lumi. Lumi reveals she's a paladin and guardian of the city of Mise. She's accompanied by this bird thing named Genius, who is apparently a god. Lumi quickly realizes from Yuta's voice that he's a male, and in this world there are no men. Or at least there haven't been any for a few thousand years. Because of this, the women of this world are very biologically, sensitive to men. Lumi literally cannot resist the urge to mate with Yuta, but you know, we can't have a sex scene so soon, right? That'd be crazy. Instead, he just eats her out till she faints from orgasming. This is the second chapter, by the way. It's then that Yuta learns a bit more about this other world. Because there are no males, girls come out of this ominous-looking castle. Each city in this world has guardians, who are basically girls who are skilled warriors. Again, Lumi is one of these guardians, and so is this chick named Lilia. She's the only other important one so far. There are a few others, but I'm not gonna lie, I don't even remember their names. Basically, these first few chapters establish that paradise aspect of the series. Yuta finds himself in a fantasy world where girls will literally go into heat if he so much as touches them. There's a few chapters of him eating out Lilia, which I can't show for obvious reasons, but then we get one of the first of many big reveals. The bird deity thing Genius reveals that in this world, when women reach adulthood without having had sex with a man, they die. Oh my god. Kind of a problem when there aren't any men, right? Because of this, basically everyone in the world is a young girl under the age of 20. The Guardians, I mentioned before, are considered elders who are around the 18 to 19 age range. This explains why Lumi, Lilia, and basically every other girl turn into hentai characters whenever they're within 10 feet of Yuta. Their bodies have altered over the millennia to literally seek out men to mate with to prevent them from dying. In other words, they're women that are built to be fucked. I'm sure Twitter would love this manga. The thing is, the girls of this world don't know that doing the deed will save them from dying, so they've all just accepted the fact that they have short lifespans, and have structured society around the fact that they'll all die before they're old enough to buy a six-pack at the gas station. And all of this is because of a curse put upon them by the god of jealousy. So no more munch in the box. Yuta now actually has incentive to get his meat stick wet if he doesn't want his new buddies to die in a couple of years. Thus, he and Lumi play a nice quick game of hide the sausage. Well, it's not actually that quick. It's like a chapter and a half of just straight up hentai boning, but again, I can't show any of that. After getting turned into a Twinkie, Lumi gains a mysterious black mark around her neck to signify that she's no longer a virgin and thus has been freed from the curse. So in order to protect his new friend friends and save this paradise world he's found himself in, Yuta vows to kill the god of jealousy to break the curse for everyone once and for all. But of course he'll smash as many girls as he can along the way to break their curses too, you know, in case he can't actually kill the god. But yeah, what a hero. Now, that's a very, very, very light overview of the plot. My summary just now is basically the equivalent of telling someone Madoka Magica is about magical girls. I mean, it's technically true, but it's only scratching the surface. Okay, I'm now going to go into super, like, next level spoiler territory here, which is necessary for the rest of the video where I break down why this is such a weird ass manga. So if you don't actually, you know, want serious spoilers, skip to this timestamp, or I actually maybe just end the video here. I'm serious. This is like Attack on Titan season 3 levels of game-changing spoilers. So don't say I didn't warn you. So Yuta and Lumi travel around the world trying to find out how to kill the god of jealousy. Along the way, they fight monsters, kill witches, and of course Yuta nuts inside of every girl that appears for even half a panel. This is up until Yuta takes a fatal blow and basically dies on the spot. Surprisingly enough, he then wakes up in a hospital bed in the real world. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh man, here we go with the old "it was all a dream" cop-out twist. But, I mean, it's a bit more than that. You see, it turns out that when Yuta got pushed out of the window in the first chapter, he didn't die, but was rendered unconscious. While passed out in the real world, Yuta spends time in the other parallel world. And when he dies in that world, he wakes up in his real-life broken body and is sent back by the same demented Muppet thing that tried to kill him in the first place. And it goes even deeper than that because of the reveal that the real world and the parallel world might actually be one and the same. The manga is still ongoing, so nothing is 100% confirmed yet, but it seems as though the Earth that Yuta once knew is the parallel paradise world thousands of years or even more in the past. There are remnants of modern day Japan all over the kingdom that they're in, and it's even implied that some people from Yuta's former life have also followed him into this new parallel world. And then after all that, it just goes even deeper into the rabbit hole. Real talk, after chapter, like, I don't know, 50 or 60, it's twist after twist after twist. It feels like Lost or Inception or, like I said, Attack on Titan. But that's all I'll say about it for now, because explaining more of the plot would turn this into an hour-long video, and I don't think I want to put the effort into making an hour-long video for any ecchi manga that's not to love Ru. Okay, but at least you got a basic rundown, right? You know, I tried to be spoiler-free, but honestly, it doesn't really matter because I wouldn't recommend reading this manga. No, but I'm sure a lot of y'all might enjoy this because in a way, it's actually really well written. But that's also the problem. Remember when I said the biggest sin this manga commits is not staying in its lane? Well, that's the thing. See, the plot of Parallel Paradise is one of its strongest points. It knows exactly what it needs to do to keep stringing you along from plot point to plot point, from one big twist reveal to the next big twist reveal. It manages to somehow perfectly toe the line between genius Oda level foreshadowing and like, this dude is just making it up as he goes along. But on the other hand, Parallel Paradise is also good at being a degenerate hentai. I'd say like over 50 to 60% of the chapters are just straight up porn. A whole reading rainbow spectrum of fetishes are covered here, from getting tied up, to humiliation, to orgies, to even scat. It also helps that the art style, while not exactly the most striking thing ever, manages to make all the good parts look, good. So, I mean, what? It's got good writing and it'll make you horny. What's the problem? Well, it's what happens when you mix those two aspects together. If you're gonna make a goofy, wish fulfillment hentai porno, I mean, that's fine, but then you mix in some actual good fantasy writing and now everything just kind of gets in the way of each other. Sure, it's silly that someone would get so horny that they would let their friends die so that they could get dicked down, but if it's a hentai, it's whatever, because it's reasonable to suspend your disbelief if you're just reading to bust a nut. But if you start including mature themes and trying to have genuine character moments, then I gotta, you know, put my boner away and put my nerd glasses on, my analytic spectrums on, and be like, okay, this doesn't make sense, this is dumb, this is stupid. Because at some points the plot will be genuinely enrapturing and some great stuff will be going on, and then it'll be interrupted by 2 chapters of porn scenes, and you're like, wait, put the titties away, I want to find out how they kill the worm dragon. So it's like, do you want to make good porn or a good fantasy manga? You can have both, but you got to be good at executing it, and unfortunately, I don't think Parallel Paradise does that. Let me give y'all an example. A big part of Yuta's character is that he wants the girls to consensually have sex with him. Despite the fact that he's physically irresistible to them and just a single touch can make even the most strong-willed woman turn into a Brazzers star, he doesn't want to abuse his powers and just force women to do what he wants. Pretty noble, right? If this was just a regular old hentai, it'd be a cute little gimmick and you can just hand wave away how weird it is and you wouldn't think much of it as you grab your lube to start beating it. But then you add in a traditional fantasy narrative that gives you this villainous god of jealousy that takes advantage of women, and you have Yuta, who is his noble polar opposite, then you're forced to take a deeper look at things. You see, the girls in this universe are biologically changed to the point where they literally physically cannot resist having sex with the nearest man they see. Yuta waits until they verbally consent to actually have sex with them, but you start to think how much of this is actual consent. If it's an unavoidable biological response, like having to fart or sneeze or something, then are they really consenting if their bodies wouldn't listen to them regardless if they said no or not? For example, in the real world, women can sometimes orgasm from right? It's purely a biological response to physical stimuli. No one in their right mind, at least I hope so, would ever say that a physical response like that would equal consent. Now, granted, a lot of the characters like Lumi, for example, seem to genuinely like Yuta and would have had sex with him even if he didn't use his powers, but a lot of them wouldn't. And despite them consenting, it's like, is it really consent? And I know it may seem like this is thinking way too hard about it, but this is what you have to do if a story like this wants to be taken seriously. If it was just like a horny porno, then who cares? You don't need to think too hard about this kind of stuff. But again, if you're not gonna stay in your lane, then the standards are gonna change, at least for me. Like, see, okay, there's one arc where two female characters are in a seemingly lesbian relationship with each other, and the manga gives us like this NTR cuckold scenario where one partner is forced to watch as Yuta makes the other one succumb to her natural female instincts. And it's like, I don't know about this. And another example, there are these creatures called the Kull, who are the natural enemy of the women in Parallel Paradise, and they look like this. They brutally assault women in these gratuitous rape scenes and kill them with their poisonous semen. Yeah. Y'all remember that super racist manga, Terraformers? It's kind of the same thing here. Large, dark-skinned, brutish, male-looking creatures who assault innocent, fair-skinned women and who are frightened away by a fair-skinned man. I mean, do I even need to say it? Again, you could say, Damian, it's not that deep. You're taking it too seriously. It's just supposed to be turn your brain off, fun, etchy. I mean, it'd be great if it was actually like that. But no, the series expects me to think a little bit because Lin Okamoto clearly put some thought into a plot, character development, and larger themes and morals. And this is what I mean by staying in your lane. Pick something and execute it amazingly instead of trying to dip your chip into every sauce. You could take all the sexual elements out of Parallel Paradise and still have a pretty good fantasy isekai story with, you know, cool twists and turns and all that. Or you could just have wish fulfillment porn extravaganza with all the dumb hentai tropes you want, and that's cool too. But if you're gonna mix them, you better know what you're doing. Otherwise you get Parallel Paradise. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say. I know the title says this is the worst manga I've ever read, but of course that's not true. There are a million manga worse than this. I hated reading this manga because I could see the vision, you know, it's just, gotta stay in your lane. And Lin Okamoto is clearly a talented writer, so that's what makes reading a series like this that actually has potential so frustrating compared to just some random trash manga that nobody cares about. Like, this story has over 200 chapters. It's published in Weekly Young magazine. People care about this series. I don't know. You don't need to read this if you ask me. Obviously you can if you're curious about the twists, or if you just want to jerk off to female knights getting humiliated. I mean, do what you want. And again, it's not finished yet, so for all I know, there'll be some big finale that'll connect everything together and make all my critiques that I said here look stupid, but who knows. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe. Comment below what your favorite hentai tag is, and donate to Patreon to support the channel. Alright, that's the video. Peace.